So it'll be myself and Sanya from Momentum that will be presenting to you today. I'll be kicking off the presentation, and I'll go through a little timetable as well, because we thought, based on our learnings from last week, maybe a couple of breaks would be good to have in between, so we can take a breather or have a chat or ask a couple of questions. So we're talking about mission marketing today, and that's what fundamentally social enterprise marketing is, because you're all on a mission, you all have a purpose, and you're all out to make a difference to the communities in some capacity or another, or a contribution. So what we could start off with is the tasks from last week were all presented to you. So what she asked was that in maybe 100 words or less, what your biggest challenge is. And that's a great way for us to steer our module content, make sure that it's applicable and it's relevant to your needs. And then the other thing that she asked is think of one small thing to help another person in the group and action it. And of course, the emails were shared so that everybody could do this. So I'm just wondering, just to go through that quickly, has anybody gone through how they can resource somebody else in the group, or assist or accommodate someone in the group in some way or another?
Laura, sorry, I didn't get a chance to do that yet, but I'm planning on doing it on like this week.
No
I'm
problem.
actually on annual leave, but my thing, I suppose, I think I could be most helpful with is maybe the trading online voucher.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants any kind of tips or tricks or advice on that, I'd be happy to help them.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Okay, well, sure, what we can do is, if we can have a chat about it later on, because and feel free, anybody now, because we're pretty open, that if there's any questions, just throw them into the chat, and when we come to the break session, we can have a look at those questions and try and respond to them. So just to give you a little update, as part of these mentoring sessions, what we will be doing is we'll be having mentoring sessions, online sessions. So we have a link there that we'll be sending out to you, and it's basically where you pick if you want further mentoring, say in marketing, funding, communications, or any of the topics that we discuss over these number of weeks. And so you'll be allocated an hour with one of us for one-to-one mentoring. And we also have our designer in there, Gillian. That could be another option for mentoring if you need maybe something around a logo or some kind of design. So, and that's us trying to give another edge to the mentoring to make sure that you get that facilitation. Because we do realise you all do a lot of different things, so it's hard to make sure that all your needs are aligned, but we'll try our best as we proceed. Orla just also wanted me to remind you that she is currently designing the funding session, because a lot came out from last week of what was happening, that you wanted updates, obviously to be COVID relevant, and what's happening out there that can accommodate you and your business so that you're ready post-COVID. So I've done just a little plan for today. It might change just a little bit, but just to give you an idea. So we're going to go through the mission marketing, and that will go to 10:40. And then from 10:40 to 10:50, we'll have a 10-minute break. And in that, like, you can do what you want, or if you're not going off, whoever is present here, we can all have a chat, whatever we need to do. And then topic 2 then is target marketing, and that's with Sanya, and that's from 10:50 to 10:25. And then you will have another break, and then with me then it would be topic 3, which is brand and reassurance marketing. And then obviously then we'll have a wrap up and close from 11:50 to 12. So when I looked at the challenges, which was really useful, I kind of tweaked the content a bit. So a couple of things came out of your challenges: was increasing the followers on Facebook, increasing your presence and sales online, how to communicate better, external messaging, reassurance marketing post-COVID, and then obviously some people were saying they haven't got a marketing staff member, so how do they do it themselves? I've tried to touch on these areas throughout the presentation. What I'll be covering is basically what are you selling, how are you selling it, how to achieve mission marketing, and how you can pitch yourself. So are you able to pitch yourself to your target markets? They know exactly what to do within those few words, and it's crystal clear. And that's really important in getting your message out, because when people get a grasp and believe in a company, they are more than ready. We call them brand ambassadors, to promote and talk about your business and what you do. And it could be, as you were saying there, Mary, Kilbride Community Centre have a gym. Maybe some people don't realise that. Let's get the conversations going around that. Just a little quick rehash on what marketing is. It's the activity, set of institutions, processes for creating, communicating, delivering, exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. So fundamentally, it's a huge communication task. How do you communicate what you do, how you do it, who you do it to, in a multitude of different ways, whether it be digital, print, collateral, and word of mouth, and various other ways. We'll go into that a little bit further later on. When we look at social enterprise marketing, it's a little bit different to others, because you, as I was saying, you all have a mission and a purpose. So what we like to call it is by getting into the hearts and minds and heads and hands of others. And how do you do that through your marketing? So the consumer is an individual, it could be society, it could be a community, it could be another organization. But how do you get into their hearts and minds so that they back you up and they're your brand ambassadors? So as I said, what are you selling? Why are you selling it? Who are you selling it to? And how are you selling it? Those 4 areas are really key, and they need to have a balanced approach. We look at the 4 P's of mission marketing. We look at purpose, planet, profit, and people. So they fundamentally are a lot to do with service relations. They may have a product aspect, but the underlying factor is mainly people, planet, or how to do good for the world at large. So first of all, if we have a look at what are you selling? So when you're selling something, you're in social enterprise marketing, you're obviously fulfilling a need. So a need could be, for example, for a retirement home. People want to make sure they're getting professional care, it's comfortable, and they feel safe. For example, there's printing companies there. What's the unmet need there? Obviously, people need to get stuff printed, and it's an ongoing business that has been striving for years and is needed in all of our communities. But people want to make sure they're getting quality products. They want to make sure they're getting it at affordable prices. It's transparent, and that they can make, I suppose, a decisive decision with all of the information that you present them. So they're just examples of.
And I'm going to be gone.
Okay. So we were saying there, so when you're talking about what you're selling, we were saying you're not just talking about a product, you're talking about a promise as well, a brand. What is your enterprise and a mission? Because you're trying to do a lot of things at the same time. And that's why the brand is so important, that it can communicate all of those things that you're trying to do collectively all at the same time. So your social enterprise brand is your reputation and your credibility. Now, we all know that this is really important, especially when we're living in small communities and we're dealing with probably smaller client bases to the larger cities or larger towns. So it is important that we maintain our reputation and our credibility. And to get our heads around what actually are we selling, so that it's crystal clear. If we look at a social mission, a social mission refers to the value for the creation of public good, whereas the economic mission refers to the value creation for a private gain. You can see the distinct comparison there. So what I tried to do throughout this presentation is just give you some show and tell examples of what that looks like. So if we look at Mile High Workshop, they're big in America, but what they do is can we put everybody on mute just for the presentation? And
yeah,
then
I'm just gonna do that now.
Yeah, thank you. So what Mile High Workshop do is people who have been reincarcerated come back into the public to try and get them jobs and get them back into the workforce. You can see their production with purpose. So they are producing in their workshops their outputs for a purpose, which is to rehabilitate and re-employ people who just left prison. So we can see the purpose and mission here. So what they want to do is create transformational employment opportunities. Our mission is to create employment opportunities and provide job training for members of our community seeking to rebuild from addictions, homelessness, and incarceration. So it's really important that everybody gets a grasp of what those two lines are to describe you and your business. For Momentum, it's a little bit different. We're service orientated and project management. What we like to say is that we are vibrant, enthusiastic, education and innovative practice. That's us describing what we do. And our mission is to bring passion, energy and drive to every project we do. We're always trying to look outside the box and do things differently and always try and do better. So why are you selling it? So what is the purpose? So if you try and get a balance between what you're doing and why you're doing it. So what is your unique selling proposition? So the great thing about social enterprise is you automatically have a unique selling proposition. You are already doing something unique for communities that people want to know about, want to share and care about. And it's effective marketing. And it's what they say is that it's fulfilling a consumer need and improving the world at the same time. And that is what it is. So for example, New Moms here. So what they do is they provide homes, jobs and strong families. They try to transform lives and create strong families through everything they do. But why are you selling it? To transform lives and create strong families and take mothers off the streets who are already homeless. So then the mission. So if you look at New Moms here, again, their mission is to alleviate scarcity and affirm strength, to create pathways to opportunity and to challenge systematic barriers. And when you're coming up with the mission and the purpose, it's always good to get everybody in the company together and for everybody to brainstorm what they think it is. It's also very good to get your customers to do it as well. So you could have little focus groups, you could have surveys, you can have, I don't know, friends and family, but it's always good to get both perspectives. You need to have the internal perspective and the external perspective and try and match it up some way. And sometimes you'd be surprised to believe that that's actually, it's probably different to what you expected or assumed it to be. And going online is also a good method to collect this data of what people believe your mission and your purpose is. Whether that be, for example, if you're tourism, TripAdvisor might give you information. There's some communities and forums. If you look at your customer inquiries, or the questions that people ask about your company. So obviously, if there's questions being asked on a regular basis, that information, that gap needs to be filled and that information needs provided. So who are you selling to? Well, you can't target everybody. So Sanya is going to talk about target marketing later on in the next session. And she will be talking about basically how to segment your target market, because it is impossible and it's better to focus on the target market that's going to be most beneficial to you, not just in terms of economic stability, but also from a social perspective. Now we'll look at how are you selling it. For you to market something, it's really, really important that you sell something in a multitude of different ways, because people like to buy things differently. Some people like to go online, some people like to just walk into the shop, maybe get the social aspect. Some people like a one-to-one personal selling. Others might like to learn more about you first, maybe go to an event, maybe read about you in a newsletter. So it's really important that when people have an opportunity to come across your type of business, that they have access to that information in those forums. So for example, you might be having a community event and it would be really good for you to probably have a banner, if possible, at that event to communicate what you do and have your contact details and important information. And it's also good just to remind people of what you do, because sometimes people forget or they're not maybe 100% sure. And it saves you a lot of work with your promoting as well. So it's really good to do it online and offline as much as possible. So how are you selling it? So are you creating a strong impression and urging people to buy? Are you sending out compelling messages? And that's why smart, innovative marketing is key. What I mean by that is it's really, really important to ask people for help, ask people for support. People can't mind read, they don't know what you need. So it's a really good idea to actually tell people in a compelling way. And what I mean by that is, you've probably heard of call to action. So what are your call to actions? What way can you entice people to engage with you and to purchase what you are selling? And what I mean that as well, I don't mean just the products and services that you sell, but actually what you do. How can you get people to support what you do as a company? So for example, with New Moms, what they do is they get people to donate in money. They also can you donate time through volunteering, and you can also actually buy their products and services through the shop. And they also have like a little donate button up here on the top. So there's different ways that you can achieve support and engagement with your customers. And it's always good to know that with customers, when they get, when you build your reputation and they trust you and they want to engage with you more, it's most likely that you will convert them from being a supporter into an actual customer and a loyal customer. So this is like news and events. So it's always good to have a multitude of events and news. Like people like to engage in different ways again. Some people might like to go to events. Some people might like just to do a 5K walk. Some people might just like to have a chat and maybe share your information online. There's a thing called user-generated content. It's where you provide your customers with your information so they can share it. For example, you can, and what they can do is as well, you can ask them to provide their opinion or a testimonial, and then you share that information. You're getting your customers to speak on your behalf, and you share that communication. And that's really good for endorsement and increasing loyalty. Here's another way you can get people engaged and become supporters and possible customers, is to subscribe. So it's always good to have a newsletter or something that you can send out, especially with COVID times. It's really good to keep that regular communication and people updated. If you're open, for example, what services you can offer and how you're providing those services. That all feedback to how you sell. So you may need to adjust as time proceeds or whatever circumstances may be appearing. And obviously it depends on what the customer, what their preference is and how you sell. So it's always good to ask your customers. You know, there's some people, what they're doing is restaurants, for example, they're doing home deliveries, or you can do collections. So it's adapting to the market is really important and your customers' unmet needs. Okay, so, and your value, articulating your value. What is your value? It's sometimes really tricky how to articulate your value, but it's a really, really good exercise to do. And once you get this crystal clear, it puts everything into context. And what I mean by that is you're telling people what difference you're making to society by contributing to your business or using your services. So once you do that, it's a further pull factor and way to get customers to make decisions to actually do business with you. There's more of a meaning behind it. And that's where we're talking about getting into the hearts, minds of your customers. So, what that is from the PowerPoint there, it's make them see the connection between their purchase and the impact that your business has. So if we go into a little bit further, for example, with New Moms, what they do is they make candles. So the mothers make candles and they make it out of healthy soy. So when you purchase these products, you're not actually just purchasing a candle, you're actually helping a mother out of homelessness. So for example, I think Ross FM, I'm not sure if they're here today, but they're always supporting the communities and trying to engage with their customers. This would be a great way to engage with the likes of, say, Lidl, who are big into sponsorship marketing. And what I mean by that is with Lidl, they would be more enticed to engage with you if they felt they were giving back to communities rather than giving out monetary or merchandise. They prefer to give back something that's actually where they know where it's going. So for example, if you had them provide you with say a donate button and obviously you thank them, or say for example, what they could do is for every we say €50 that you spend, €1 goes to homelessness. So There's no reason why you couldn't do the same. For example, Ross FM, if you, for everybody who purchased an advertising slot, for every €50 spent, there's €2 that goes actually, either it could be even into the station or it could be into the community in some way or another. And there's also no reason why you can't all work collectively together and say through an event, and that people contribute and it goes equally among all of the social enterprises in your community. So here we go. So this is just an example I've done up. So you clearly quantify the impact. It's always good to talk about the impact. It's also good to quantify the impact. And what I mean by that is, for example, a purchase helps our social enterprise, which helps employ 50 people. For example, Kilbride Community Centre. I don't know how many employees are there, but how long you're in business. But tell people how long you're in business, and tell people about all the good stuff you've done and how many people that they're maintaining the employment for. And obviously the community itself, to make sure that indoors that we have been supporters of the community and a place for communities to go for so many numbers of years. And so the purchase helps us and help them and fulfill their need. And then the purchase impact is what's going to happen as a result of your purchase. So it follows on after the purchase. You could say, like even for volunteers as well, like you could say that it gives work to one person for a week. So maybe in that station, someone starts off as a volunteer and then that evaluates to maybe them becoming an employee. So, but what people really need you to do is tell them what you need. We need funding for this. We need someone to do our marketing, and one day a week, this is what it will mean. And by you supporting us, we will be able to achieve that in X amount of time. And it gives people a goal and puts you firmly in your customer's mind and your supporter's mind. For example, here's One Hope Wine. They reported a 30% increase in their sales. This was prior to incorporating the mission marketing. And so it moved to a more quantifiable story. And what it did was it actually communicated what it achieved. So we do see sometimes there's a raffle and people hold up a check and there's a photo taken and then it's done. But why not just maintain that, how much you've fundraised or how much you've achieved on your website and on your digital marketing? And you know, as you did last year, you do 1,000, next year you do 10,000. Keep those numbers going up, and that increases your impact and your contribution, and obviously your reputation. So for example, with One Hope Wine, what they do is doing good tastes great. They've donated over nearly 5 million non-profits around the world. Okay, so they have funded nearly 20,000 days clinical trials to help a cure for practice or a cure for breast cancer. This is all through purchasing of their wines, and founded by friends and driven by purpose. So we can't make a great bottle of wine that also serves a larger purpose. So you can see the words that they're using, so why not think of trying to be creative and use those kind of words to communicate what you do. So these are the Hope Wine themselves, and it's always good to put your face on the cover. You know, why not put the people who are behind the business at the forefront and say cheers? So people, when they recognize people, and not only that, but it gives that personal connection and the emotional connection and makes it more of a humane process. So they donate 10% of event proceeds to a charity of your choice. So that's another thing to do. So you don't have to necessarily do this long term. It can be a one-off event if you want it to be, or a one-off, say, promotion that you want to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an activity or an exercise that will be happening, say, next week, and it'll be writing your purpose, your vision, and your mission statement. And this information is really important. Why it's important is because it will go on your website, it will go on your Facebook and your social media. So it's going to be applicable across the board. And why that's important is because it ensures consistency of your message. And when you are consistent, your brand is consistent, and then it becomes ingrained in society. So when they see it, they know exactly what you're about. And when you want people to talk about you, especially people in their kitchens, you want them to be able to clearly identify what you do. It's also important as well when you're talking about yourself, what actually do you offer? If you're a community centre, do you offer meeting rooms? Is there a shop? Is there a football pitch? Is there AstroTurf? So making sure that you identify and let people know what you have available to them so that they can meet their needs. Has anyone any questions? No? So can I ask you just, has anybody got their purpose or vision or mission statement already done? And if you have, if we could have a quick chat about that. Do you think it would be a beneficial exercise?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, what Irish people, and I don't mean to be funny, I've been an Irish girl myself and living abroad, we're very bad at being proud of ourselves. We're very bad at boasting about ourselves. We're very bad at saying, Jeannie, did you see what we did last week? Okay, we just take the phone, we put it up, and then, you know, make sure you share that. Say to people, make sure you share that. And whenever you're posting on your social media or on your website, feel free to share what we do, you know, or share the love, whatever it is, because you do good and you should be proud of what you do. And people want to hear good news stories. Like, for example, I'm just thinking things off the top of my head. It could be as simple as if you have a shop, and because I think Kilbride, they have a little shop, and I think, I'm not sure, I think they serve coffees, but if someone comes into that shop every day because it's part of their social activity. For example, and I know elderly people go to shops every day. Why not do a little video and say, this is Mary, she comes in every day, and we're really important for her as part of our community offering. You know, maybe Mary has a little story to tell, and there's no reason why you can't take a video of her, obviously with her permission, or take a photograph and share that. And that's really important information and really strong information for your brand, for your social media. And it's also something that gets people talking. Did you see Mary in Kilbride's community centre the other day? And then obviously people remember you quicker and they're reminded of what you do.
Laura, if no one else has the mission here at hand, maybe we can go through the mission of the magazine that I've set up just as an example, and yeah. I can copy and paste it here for everyone. And
I'll stop my share so I will.
Okay, so I can, will I share my screen then? Yeah. Okay, and then maybe you can take a look at that.
So Sonia has a magazine. Sonia, will you give a brief intro to what your magazine is about?
Yeah, so my magazine is an online-only magazine that's multicultural, so it's there to support an idea about diversity, integration, and anti-racism, and to kind of connect people who came to Ireland from other countries and people in local communities. So what I used to know about vision and mission and what kind of collides with what you just said is vision, and I don't know if I'm right here, Laura, vision is basically where you want to be in the future, how you imagine yourself. You don't always fulfill it completely. And mission is how you do it. So there's a little vision and mission statement for the magazine. And if it's not good, just let's use it as an example of what to fix maybe. So it's so outside, it's short for the magazine. Outside is showing what it is like to be misplaced for those who became out of place. Now this is a bit poetic here, but that's again the voice and the tone of the magazine. Now further, we show what it means to accept this identity and love it, to despise it, to come from the outside. For instance, we find out what the outsiders have to say about life, no matter what they define as their home and what their geographical location is at the moment. So that's the vision, that's how we see ourselves. That's what we want to become in the future, so sort of like a safe space for anyone who's an expatriate. And the mission, how we do it is we don't only write about multicultural topics. In addition, we provide true equality experience where locals and non-locals write about similar issues and experiences. Our community finds it interesting to explore each other's perspectives on everyday matter. Now, again, it's probably different than a coffee shop's mission would be, or some other type of business, because of the tone of voice that we're using here. But there, I just wanted to pull out one example.
Very good. And I think that's the thing, it does need to be prominent. It needs to be on the website, the first page, so that when people do land, they know they're at the right place, they know exactly what you do, and it's clear so that they can make a decision.
Yeah, it doesn't have to have 9 on that, will it? Yeah, it's okay. Is there younger ones, Margaret?
No.
Okay, it's okay. Just say it's a once-off.
So I'll stop sharing the screen now, Laura. I just wanted to pull up one example.
Sure, thank you, thank you. So has anybody any questions? So I see that in the chat, Patricia from Unibon offered to share participants' content as a task. Is Patricia there?
Sorry, she's just taken a call there in the office.
No problem, no problem. So is there any way that you think, like, even there's no reason why you can't come together as a community with a vision and a mission statement as well? And you know, that could be just one event a year. It could be just something where you're all coming together and as a community, because that's what you fundamentally are. You're the underlying principles in your community.
You just
I could come in there if
Aye.
that's okay. I think, you know, even for the groups, not to be afraid, you know, to have a couple of goes at the mission and the vision, you know, especially the new groups starting off, because, you know, you may change down the road, you know, in terms of, you know, you see a different clientele coming at you. So don't feel that it has to be set in stone either.
Yeah, yeah. And you could have actually 10 different missions. You know, you could have a multitude, but it's the one overarching, and then the rest of things. And what it is really, it's a hook. It's the way of getting people to go, oh, okay, now I'm interested. Now I want to learn more. These sound like... And,
yeah, I think this is particularly interesting for... Sorry, we're...
No, I'm listening to you.
Like, sorry, I'll let you finish. Go on.
No, and like what just Sanya was saying there as well, that with these, the tone is very important. So if you're talking to local people, it's local language. You're not trying to be fluffy or go way out there. You're just trying to be real and authentic and transparent and just cut to the chase. And what it does as well, people who think they know what you do or they're nearly sure what you do, it's actually clarifies. So they might have got it wrong and go, oh, actually, it's not what I actually thought it was. So it's really important for your reputation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I find with our vision and mission that it's just so broad that we're kind of at a point now where we're looking at kind of rebranding and remessaging, and I suppose all of that stuff starting over again really with our marketing. And I really want to get that tied down, like, who are we, what are we trying to do? And you're trying to do that to your local community, you're trying to do it to potential visitors, but then you're doing it to totally different markets, the retail market, the crafting community, the food community, you know. And it's very daunting at the moment, because it's like, how can we get our message sewn up and more concrete that we can promote ourselves in just a stronger way, in a more strategic.
Is that Una Bond, is it?
Yeah, sorry, it's Sabrina.
Oh, Sabrina, hi, I was thinking of
Hi, love. Sorry.
Yes, and you're so right, Sabrina. And I think my guidance around that would be where people are people. So you just start off treating everybody as a person first. So that's what the fundamentally are. They're buying into you. And then, and as you say, the different strands, and then it changes. And the difficulty you have, yeah, is you're doing so much and you've so much to offer. How do you drill it down? And I think that's the good thing about mission statements and vision statements, is that they kind of, you can drill down from that. So
Yeah.
for each of those groups, and then obviously have a drill down. So if somebody wants to read more, that you have that information available, but you have your overarching title there to guide them.
Yeah, it's just because like the shop has its own identity, the market has its own identity, the tourism has its own identity, and then all the other miscellaneous things that we do. But it's just the feeling that like does the shop need its own branding and its own marketing and its own mission and vision, and does the the shop and then do we all need different, or is it down to the, like, how does the organization do an overall of that?
Yes. You would definitely do an overall for everything, and then it would come, because it's like an umbrella approach, and then the rest of the businesses would come on. Because the thing about it is that you're all complementary of one another. You all fundamentally do the same thing, which is obviously to promote tourism and footfall within your community, and it's how you do it in different ways, and that actually strengthens your brand, that you can prove that you're actually you're not just doing one approach, you're doing numerous approaches. And it's really important to communicate that, because people can contribute in different ways. So that's why I'm saying, well, I might be a tourist today, I might actually purchase something in the craft shop tomorrow, and actually I think I'm going to go to the market maybe in 2 weeks' time. So you become a kind of a little hub or a one-stop shop. But yeah, and I think the biggest thing about it is it's a really big task. It's just sit down with a few people, not just on your own, and just start it and try it. And what I would do is I put down keywords first, right? What are the adjectives? What are the words that we would describe ourselves? And then pick out the keywords that are important for you and work for that for each of the different segments of your business.
Yeah. We've already had kind of team meetings and stuff on that I suppose has kind of got us to a certain point, but it's just wanting to do it right, because funding is so limited that you kind of always feel like you just get one shot at these things, and now that we're taking the leap to do it, it's just to make sure that we do it right, that in a way that will sustain us and be the most effective.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think as well, when it comes to funding, if you get your purpose and your vision and your company structure and you communicate it well, it's amazing what kind of funding you can attract. And I don't mean that just by, I mean that could be investors, it could be philanthropy, sponsorship. If you're doing a really good job in your community and Lidl is looking to sponsor somebody locally, well, they're going to pick you because you're standing out from the crowd.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've gone to that effort is like, that's a tick, 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 tick for them. So why wouldn't I engage? And then obviously, there's no harm why you, like, that's what I'm saying, you need to ask people what you want. We're open to sponsorship proposals. Why not have that on your Facebook? And I did philanthropy and sponsorship. And what I did was I did like an infographic. So if you spend, we'll say 20,000 or 5,000, you'll get a sticker on my van, for example, or it could be you can get a logo on my website. For example, if you're a retirement village, they want to have the backup of other sponsors. And it's amazing how far the community reach goes. And why not ask out to the community to sponsor those pages? And what I mean by that is that a person who is a large company might have a parent in a home and they want to invest in some way and support that home. And why not do it through a sponsorship? And it becomes feasible for them through their business. And they're also doing something worthwhile with a quantity, or we'll say a quantifiable value behind it. But and there's no reason why you can't ask.
No.
You don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So what I think what we'll do is, if that's okay, Sabrina, we'll have a wee break, will we? And I was thinking maybe 10:50, come back, and then Sonia will be doing target marketing.
That's perfect. So 10 minutes of break, then more fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Lovely, and everyone can see the presentation, I presume. Okay, so I'll just, before I start, I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my funny accent. It comes from Bosnia and Herzegovina, where I was before I came to Ireland, which is 5 years ago. I love Ireland. I love its people. I'm located in Sligo. So my background, I guess, is both in for-profit and non-for-profit organizations. And then education-wise, it's in business and marketing. So from those points of view, I'll bring today's topic about target groups. And I guess I will have some valuable perspectives, just because I did have a privilege to work with some great non-for-profit organizations such as yourself. I just also wanted to congratulate you all for being in this business sector, for doing businesses for someone else's benefit, for being social entrepreneurs. It's a huge thing. And you are on the right track. You can see that by just looking at big players and big companies. You can easily notice that they all want to become socially responsible. Now, of course, part of that is because some of them actually do care, but it is also an attractive way to do business, to get closer to people, to give meaning to people's purchases. And because big companies are so good at marketing, they will be good at this, but they will never be as good as you are, because you are over there with people, directly communicating with them day to day. So no one can take that away from you. So don't let go of what you have so far. You're obviously good at it because you all started your businesses and you got to some extent, and it's very good. So just kind of these workshops are for you to fight this new challenge of COVID, and to kind of use the opportunity to look back at how things are set up and see if you need to fix anything before you're jumping further towards success. So the basic thing that you have as social entrepreneurs is empathy, and that's one and key ingredient you need for marketing. Now, the next step you need to take your empathy to is, who do you direct it to? Who are you empathetic towards? And that takes you right into identifying your target groups. Okay, so what's the first question you need to ask yourself, or it imposes yourself as soon as you start any kind of business or any kind of adventure? You need to see what to do next, and what to do next is usually you need to sell and you need to grow straight away. So you can't just define yourself, start a business, have products and services, and then be still. No, you have to chase something. You have to chase the success. You have to chase the sales. Before you do what Laura was talking about earlier, before you define yourself, your mission, your vision, your products and services, you would be looking like the first image on the slide. So you would be directed kind of everywhere. You would be full of effort. You could have a team, or you could be doing stuff by yourself. You could have some budget or no budget. You can have resources, but you would have no mission. You wouldn't really know who you are as a business, and therefore you would be kind of running in circles, or directing your efforts everywhere and getting nowhere, really not getting to any specific target or direction. Now, the second illustration here is you again. That's you when you did all that Laura suggested you do, when you defined your mission and you know yourself. And there you are, round and kind of pink, which for me means that you're all set to go, all healthy, and you have your products ready. You know what you are and what you're selling. but then you're missing something. You're missing the target group. So you're doing things in all directions. You're doing things everywhere. You're selling to everyone. And that's okay. You can sell to anyone. You're not going to say, okay, we're not taking your purchase today. It's not about that. But your efforts and your energy are equally invested in all directions, and therefore you're not experiencing growth. So you're not growing in intentional manner. You're not pointed in one direction, and you're not experiencing results as you should if you had your target group defined. And that takes us to the third image here, which is when you do know yourself and you also know who your target groups and your market is, and then you make a plan, and then everything you do is directed that way. And that's when you see the growth. That's when all of your efforts kind of collide in one point, and it just makes you stronger. It makes you more focused. Now, it is similar to what Laura was mentioning about doing an umbrella brand. That's from the point of view of branding and your products and your services and your mission. It's always wise to have your umbrella brand, because it's a cost as well. So you don't have an unlimited budget, and branding is something that shows up as your cost when you do your accounting. But branding is also something that you can show as your value in the sense of accounting. So you do want to focus yourself in one thing or two things, but not be everywhere at the same time, both in terms of branding and in terms of the target groups. Now that we know kind of why is it that we need to start defining our target group as soon as we can, we need to take a look at what else do we need to do once we have the target group. The most important thing is to position yourself. What does that mean? It means that you know yourself, you have your mission and your products defined. You do know who your target group is now, and you do know what your market is. You know who your competitors are. Now, there's a trick there that you, I'm sure, instinctively do anyways, because you're all people who are doing business anyways. You need to determine what your competition is not doing, what portion of your market is your competition not fulfilling. And when you collide those three points, there you are in the middle. You position yourself there. That means you're going to take and aim at that portion of the market, and you're going to brand yourself towards that portion of the market. So something that your competition is not doing, that might be exactly your mission, your social thing that you're providing, and who are you providing that to your target group. Now, when you have your target group defined, well, we're not there yet, but when you understand why you need to have it defined, you'll understand as well that it has direct impact on what channels you use for your promotion. For example, it's not the same if you're targeting managers or you're targeting moms who stay at home. Managers will most likely behave in a way that, for example, they'll use LinkedIn as their main social network, and moms, for example, might use Twitter or Facebook if we're talking about online presence. So they don't behave the same way, these two target groups. They don't show up at the same places or spaces, so you will not be communicating to them towards the same, through the same channels. So it's the place where you find them, that's also important. The way you deliver your service is a huge thing in your whole marketing, and that is also dependent on who your target group is. So when you know them, you know how and where you provide your service or your product. And then the voice and tone of your messages, even though you have the same message and the same mission and vision, You might adapt or change your tone of voice depending on who your target group is. So even though you're selling the same thing, you might need to communicate it with a different tone. So that's the importance of choosing and defining your target group. And by the end of this module, you'll know exactly how to select your target group, and even further and deeper how to determine who your target group persona is, how to define it. And then when you have the target group persona, you know how to communicate to this persona and where to communicate to it. So again, starting to define your target group. So what I said, everyone is welcome, of course, so don't get confused by that. When someone asks you, who are you selling your products and services to, you would be tempted to say, oh, to everyone in the community. Well, that's not the answer. That's not a good answer. Of course, you won't chase anyone away, and you are welcoming everyone, and all purchases are more than welcome. But you have to narrow the selection. You have to target your messages towards someone, because if you don't know who your favorite person is or who your targeted persona is, then you don't know how to talk. You're like a 1-year-old. You don't have your language in terms of you being a company. So you need to develop the person that you're talking to so you can actually start talking. If you don't have that, you will not be consistent. You will not be in the right channels unless luck hits your coincidence. You will not be planned. You will not have strategy, and you will get lost. So starting to define your target groups means first you go to demographics, the basic thing. So you define the age, sex, location of your target group. You define then you go a bit deeper. You define their social situation, maybe even the range of their income. It's nothing to be ashamed of. You have to know, are you selling to a certain range of income? So you can even look back at the costs and price of your services and products. And it influences your delivery as well. You have to know how easily they can pay for what they're paying for. So you need to know them. You need to know their preferences and their behavior and their interests. What do they like? Where do they go to? What do they look at? So you can position yourself there where they're looking. Are they reading newspapers or are they listening to radio? What annoys them? What offends them? Especially these days, we get to be easily offended these days, and it is something that businesses have to look after. You need to have your culture of speaking to your customers, and you certainly want to know what offends them, and you want to avoid that. You need to praise them. You need to be compassionate towards them. And since you are who you are, all of you here are already social entrepreneurs, there's a good chance you already are doing these things. But it's good to put them in writing, put these things on paper so they become your strategy. And whenever you have a new team member, this will come in so handy, because you don't risk losing your all of these strategy points when you're communicating them to a new member of staff. You'll have them written, and it's so easy to introduce someone into your culture then, and then have your culture preserved and stay the same and consistent. Again, because of your specific situation, that you're not just for-profit enterprises, there's a huge probability that you'll have 2 target groups. Now, don't be afraid of this. It does complicate things a little bit, but it actually helps you, because the first target group are the ones whose problem you're solving with your social mission. And it's a huge thing to have. As I said, big corporations are craving for this. Sometimes they're even just creating this out of nowhere, because it's a huge marketing advantage. And because you're doing it so sincerely, it will also give you a motivation and boost to you and your whole team. So it's a good thing that you have this target group. And when you're defining yourself, and when you define this target group, the one that has a problem that you're able to solve, whenever you're selling a product or service, you just take that description and add it to the product and service, saying, oh, we're selling this cup, and this cup is helping mothers in this county to finance their I don't know, they're staying at home with their children, or whatever your social mission is. So you just copy and paste your social mission to complement your products and services. So that's the first target group that you might be facing. The second one is the one that's actually buying your products and services. Now, out of these two facts, there can be actually three possible situations, and they're illustrated here by these circles. So the first situation is that your target group for your social mission and the target group for your commercial services and actions, they are the same in the first situation. So whoever is buying your products and services, those are the same group of people that you're actually helping with them. So you could be supporting young people in your county to get education, and at the same time you could be selling t-shirts to those same groups of people. The second situation is when these two groups collide in certain portions, so they're not completely the same, but some of the people who are buying your products are also the ones who are benefiting from your whole mission. And then the third situation is when they're completely separate. So for example, you're selling pencils locally to support planting trees in Amazon. So two different target groups, or you're selling something globally to support your local community. So we have a better look out at what types of target groups we have there. And there's one specific situation. Again, it does complicate things a little bit, but it's good to be aware of it. And when you go to practically doing things, it's not that scary. What am I talking about? It's when you're selling to final customers, to individuals, that's called business to customer marketing. So final customers are your target group, and then you, of course, have to narrow it down. But the point is you're selling to individual private people. The other situation is when you're selling to businesses. So that's business to business. I know that here among you, there are at least two social enterprises that are in the group of business to business. There's a radio station and there's a print company here. So I think most of their activities are aimed at businesses. Some of you might have both. You might be selling a little bit towards individuals and then a little bit towards businesses. But my advice to you is choose what kind of a market you sell to. You have to be one kind of a company predominantly. So you're either business to customers or business to business, and then whatever comes after that is just an addition. This is why it's so important, because there are some differences of doing business in these two situations. For example, promotion channels. For businesses, if we're talking about online promotions, you'll find your customers on LinkedIn. While for private people, it's not usually the way you sell. You don't sell on LinkedIn, you sell on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Tone of voice is different. Of course, when you're selling to businesses, it's a bit more official. And when you're selling to private people, there's empathy in it, and you don't have to be as official. So there's a little bit more relaxed tone of voice. Legislation is also different. So especially with GDPR, I'm sure you're all aware of it, especially October is the deadline for websites to kind of finalize their GDPR compliance. Now, as far as contacting people, GDPR does not allow you anymore to just go and reach out to private people as you used to. So you can't just find an email and just send it with your offer of sales. That would be illegal. But then if there's a business and you find their business email address and you have a legitimate cause to email them because they would benefit from what you have to offer, then it's okay. So there's a difference in that as well. When you're positioning yourself, your slogan might be different. For example, again, more relaxed when you're talking to individuals, and when you're solving problems of businesses, they have different problems. They don't have problems as private people have. So what businesses want to do is improve their businesses, and what private persons want to do is improve their lives. And then when it comes to decision-making process, also there's a difference that matters to you, because when you're selling to families, for example, you know that the wife is the one who has the final say. I'm only joking, it's not like that always. But when it comes to businesses, there's certain level of management that makes the final decision, and you have to bear that in mind when you're selling, because then automatically you'll save yourself some time and you'll skip the lower levels of management. So it's all about choosing the right target group, and by the end of this you'll know the process, and then you'll get an exercise as well for home, and it will be straightforward. And when you fill in the exercise sheet that I prepared for you, you'll have your target group defined. So how do you actually get on to choosing the right target group? Well, I would suggest don't be alone while doing this. So get together with your team and do a little brainstorming session and list all of your potential and current target groups. Just list them without thinking too much. Just put them on a piece of paper. And then when you have whatever number of them on the paper, you do need to narrow them down to the 3 most important ones. And when you're narrowing them down, you need to think about these criteria. So you need to think what impact they have on your business and success. How receptive are they to your communication? What influence do they have to other groups? And how are they connected to your product and your values? How good of a match you are with one another. So basically, you're choosing the one that suits you best, that's the best fit, and that's going to make your mission fulfill itself and your sales grow. And then when you list them all, and when you choose the 3, and discard the other one, it doesn't mean that you're not going to sell to the other ones. It just means that you're going to focus on the ones you choose. So you need to rate them then. Rate them according to the criteria that I listed above, and then you rate them from 1 to 10. And then you just add up all of your scores, and you have your total, and you choose the best one for yourself. Now I'm just trying to, okay. So this is how it looks. Now I am missing one column here, but it's in the exercise, it's added. So in the columns you have the criteria, in the rows you have the target groups, or as they're called here, stakeholder groups. That's something that you might consider calling them that way if you're doing your mission target groups. So people who you're influencing and who are influencing your business. So when you have those 3 in here, it's easy to just add up the results and choose the right one. Now, these are some of the differences when a company doesn't have the target group selected, the way they're communicating to the market, and then as opposed to the company that does have its target group selected and defined. So if you're just targeting your message to almost everyone, you would say something like this: we run guided kayak tours of the beautiful coastal waters of Ireland. Discover them from the comfort of your own kayak. So what does this tell me if I'm a customer and I ran into this message on a website or somewhere? I know that they're offering kayak tours, somewhere in Ireland. I'm not sure. Coastal waters, it must be the sea, but do they do anything else? Can I go and have my tour on a lake? I don't know. And it just says that it's kind of comfortable, but you see, I'm not sure, is this for me? Because I might be a family member planning a family trip, or I might be a member of a company planning a team building, and I'm just not sure, so I might lose my interest there. As opposed to a message targeted at a more specific target group. Now, this is someone who has resources and staff to cater for 3 target groups. So that's what they do because they feel they can, and it's good for them. So they say, we provide you with unique experience of guided kayak tours at the lakes and sea waters of such and such county at the east of Ireland. You can rely on us for safe and enjoyable kayaking, whether you are a group of friends in search of memorable moments, planning a family activity, including children above 5, a work team looking to get out of the office into the adventure. So here I know more, I know much more. I know where it is. I know it's lakes and the sea waters. I know if I'm looking to bring my family to an adventure, I know I can do that, and that I can bring my children if they're about 5. If I'm organizing a team building, I can do that as well. And even if I'm just coming with a group of friends. And the third example here is the one where the target group is narrowed even further. This is for someone who really needs to focus on just one target group because of their own internal resources. They chose that this is the most profitable and efficient way of doing things. So they're only providing tours for families. That's their niche. And that's a very good position to be at, because then you will be the best one in providing a service to this target group. So the company above might not be as good as you, because you'll have the most experience with this target group, and you'll know them the best, and you'll know what triggers them and what they like. So you might be the first choice of this target group, and in doing so, in narrowing your target group this way, you might be in a position to profit more and to have more business with just one target group. So they say, we provide you family-friendly, safe and unique experience of guided kayak tours at the lakes and sea waters of that county at the east of Ireland. You can see that even when you're drafting your message towards the target group, if you have just one, you have more space to communicate. Your sentence can be a bit wider because you don't have to communicate to 2 more. So this takes us even deeper now. Once we have our target group defined, we want to develop the customer persona, the target group persona. So we want to imagine a person that we are communicating to. This will help us. No one else has to know that we have this persona named Joe portrayed here, and the Joe is a professor at a university, and he lectures, and we're targeting him. No one needs to know that we have that written somewhere. But if we know everything about Joe, and if we answer all the questions to describe this person, our tone of voice will be specifically targeted at him, and we'll choose the promotional channels to target him. If we don't know who these 3 people are, we just might mix them up, and we might not get any of them while targeting all of them. So this is how you develop your customer persona. This is an example of a person named Amy. Of course, imagined person, we're not putting in real details here. So we imagine that our ideal customer is Amy, and she's 38. And what does she do? She's a dental assistant. Yes, she's married, and we have that detail here. And we just put all of these things in because they will eventually help us make the decision of how to communicate. We have here what's annoying her. So she doesn't like spending precious time trying to support her kids' school and seeing few results. Now you can put in what's annoying your ideal customer persona and that's relevant to your business as well. So knowing what problems they have helps you connect with them and show them how you're solving their problem with your product or with your mission. So when you have this example, it will be easy for you to talk to your clients, to your customers, to draft your messages. Now you can talk to them. And now again, it comes down to what we said at the beginning. It comes down to empathy. I also have here, I don't know if I stopped screen sharing or not. Am I sharing the screen?
Yep.
Yeah. And can you see the little Word document here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So this Word document is what I'll send to you. It is for homework, but don't think of it as homework. It is something that I'm sure you'll use and cherish for a long time. This will help you define your target group and define your customer persona. So in the first step, you'll do the brainstorming and just put everything that comes to mind about your target groups, who they are, just all of them together in here. Your whole team can be included in this. And then you come to the ranking, and it's easy to do, and I've put all 4 of the criteria here, and there's your little ranking column. So there you will choose your perfect one. And then there's some questions you need to.
Sorry to interrupt. We're not seeing your Word document, we're just seeing your PowerPoint.
Okay.
So you might need to switch your sharing.
Okay, thank you. 1 second. No, you see, I've minimized.
We're still seeing your PowerPoint.
Because I minimize. Okay, I'll stop the share, and I'll do the share again. I think this one is the one. Now,
Yeah, we can see it
check
now.
with you is the title Catalyse Social Enterprise Roscommon 220.
Yes.
Step 1. Okay,
Yes.
so that's your exercise. Just read what it says, and it will take you step by step through the process of determining who your target group is. Now here's that chart I mentioned. Easy to do, super easy to do. And there are some reminders, and then you need to profile them, use the demographics, behavior. If you need an additional piece of paper, use that one. You will get the PowerPoint presentation, so you can use those questions for defining the persona. And then I advise you to even draft the message you have for this person, having in mind what Laura said about yourselves and your mission. And that's it, and you'll have the message ready, and then it means you're ready to communicate through your channels. So if anyone has any questions, that's it about the target group from me, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Can I just ask there, Sonia, will that come out as attached to an email?
Yeah, we can send it out in the email.
I think, yeah, that might be good.
Yeah, we can send that out. So does anyone have the questions about target groups? No?
No.
Problem. While I'm here, I'll just, because I have 2 reminders unrelated to this here. One is that
I think some people are trying to get in there, maybe to ask a question.
Oh, okay.
Sonia, I suppose I would just like to add that to it's a great exercise. When you're doing the exercise, think of your best customers, think of say Joe Dunn or whoever it is coming in, and use them as your pitch for your target market, because it'll give you it's an easier exercise to do, to try and imagine and try and think of it, I suppose, from someone who's a stranger who knows nothing about your business, and then obviously from someone from the community who knows you well. So if you try and get different perspectives, it's really good to start with someone that you already know.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, that's a good point. Just because you're drafting the perfect persona, it doesn't mean that they know you. They still need to get to know you. So you still need to tell them about yourself, but in the way that they will understand. Just about the funding questions that you had, just to let you know that funding workshop is being prepared and we will notify you about that one. And we also need to ask you about the next date. It was supposed to be 4th of August. So if everyone can just let us know, would that be okay? Do you want to go forward with that one next Tuesday? Would that be go forward with?
I suppose we're just checking your availability with the bank holiday weekend. You might be taking extra time off. So if you want to, we can see about changing the date if that's necessary.
Yeah. Is anyone, does anyone here, is there anyone who can't make it on 4th of August? No, so everyone can make it.
But
I
we
will
leave
be
it-
there.
Can I just ask, guys, do we have to email you in that worksheet in advance, or do you want, is it just something to do for ourselves?
No, that would be perfect. If you could email it to us, you can email, maybe to just set your emails to Orla all the time. Would that be okay, Laura? What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. And I suppose, Sabrina, it's more to make sure you've that tool there if you need it. We understand that you're all under pressure, and I know you're doing a lot of work with the shop and everything. So if you want us to discuss it at the beginning of the next training session, no problem, what you've provided, or else if you just want to do it off your own bat, that's fine as well. There's no pressure. It doesn't have to be done within a certain time frame and email.
Can I just,
Okay, thanks.
hi, this is Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot, and thank you very much. One of the problems I would have if I was to do the exercise, and I developed this target persona, I would be afraid that the rest of the members of the committee would say, well, you just went off and developed this marketing strategy, and you might have consulted with us, because part of the link to the Laura's about the mission is the committee is trying to convince itself what the mission is, and that's shifting, and it's shifted dramatically over the last 6 months. But then if you start going deeper into saying, now I know that we're at a different type of enterprise, and we're also at a different stage. But I would just be wary of, particularly because I'm an outsider coming into the community and then deciding, oh, well, I've decided that our personal consumer is a woman coming on holiday with her family, and she has nothing to do on a rainy day, and she wants to think, and she's been to the forest park. What else can we do? Anyway, that's just to say that it's not only that the mission statement has to be flexible, adaptable, and dynamic, but also then is that once it's agreed by the committee, then I think you can start to get, and I think it's a very good idea to develop of not just the target group, but actually the target persona. It's just a concern I would have in doing the exercise.
And Tom, can you, yeah, maybe it's not the right time for you to do the exercise, if that's what I understood. You need more, it would be ideal then to include the board if you can. I don't know what the process of work is there for you, but can you include them once the time comes, once you have the mission?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Don't do it by yourself anyways.
Yeah.
It's not a lonely process.
No.
It's a process based on facts, and you wouldn't choose your type of persona by your own preferences. It is in line with the mission, and then once your work with the board on the mission is done, maybe you can get them to kind of get together and do that brainstorming session towards getting target group. And then if you have time, it would be good and advisable to go deeper into defining the persona.
I completely agree. Yep.
Okay, will we take a little break, maybe for 5 minutes?
Sure.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
We'll be back
That'll be
at
good.
40.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Sanya. That was good.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on to the final section, and that's going to be our branding and reassurance marketing. Again, this came up with a couple of the challenges that people have in terms of what's happening in business, and especially around COVID, which is a tricky one that we're all trying to get our heads around. So I suppose I'm coming from the perspective of how to brand and re-engage, and I suppose re-engage with our existing market, but also to engage with future markets as well. So we all know that branding is everything, really, that the company does. It's the experience. It's going from the first minute that someone calls you or finds out about you to their last transaction with you, and how they've done that and experienced that, how they've found out about you, what you look like, and everything else in between, and all of those impressions and feelings, etc., that they get along the way. So it's up to you to manage that, which of course you're all doing an amazing job at it already. But just to be cognizant of your brand and what it is to people. When we talk about the mission statement and we talk about purpose and vision, they are all reflective of the brand. The brand can't be developed unless those are clearly distinct on what they are, because that resonates throughout the company. So I like to think of branding, to try and simplify it in a way, is the key to make an emotional connection with your customer throughout their journey and stay in their memory. And that means a positive memory, a positive journey, a journey that they want to embark on again and come back time and time again. It's about retaining your customers as well. So I suppose when I talk about the whole experience, if we look at it, so we start off with awareness, consideration, purchase, service, and loyalty. And this is replicated for new customers, potential customers, and existing customers. And you can see from there that people interact at different stages in different ways. If we look at the awareness stage, it's online ads normally, it's normally a viral email, it could be word of mouth, it could be the radio station. So it is important for you to have some kind of awareness marketing strategy involved. So it could be, for example, it could be an advert on your Facebook, it could be an advert on the local radio station. But it is important to at least have one of those present for online presence at all times. Then we go into the consideration. Okay, so they're going to delve a little bit further and they're going to look for your website and look for your Facebook. Then it's important to have your landing page, your blog, direct mail, so they can directly converse. And when we say landing page, we mean having contact us, that they find the information that they need, whether it is to book, whether it's to donate, or whether it's to purchase. Then you go on into the purchase section where the transaction is actually occurring. So Orla mentioned the online trading voucher. I believe that there's high demand for it, so that's a great opportunity for you all to approach. And then obviously for people to purchase, they not only want to purchase online, they want to purchase in a tangible way as well. So whether it be at your shop or ringing up and making a call or doing the transaction, it's always good to have a couple of different ways people can purchase or engage with you. Then we look at the service. What happens afterwards? Do they get the receipt? Do they get an email confirmation? Are they informed about the transit of the goods or the tracking, or if there's a delivery service? So how do you manage that, and is that being managed well? And then the loyalty is the bit that comes after. So the transaction is all done and dusted. They've received whatever they've purchased. But then how are you engaging with them afterwards? Are you thanking them for their service? Are you asking them to support your company and maybe subscribe to a newsletter? Or maybe you've got a promotion on the invoice for their next transaction, maybe a 5% reduction. All of these bits are really important for each stage of the customer journey. So when we talk about marketing strategies, these are a couple of marketing strategies that I think are really important, especially when we're talking about COVID and your messages. So it is important to develop key messages, have your key audiences, and identify ways how to reach these audiences. It's always good to build on what you have and have a multitude of ways. So we'll look at that a little bit later. And then how to convey your brand and brand value to your target audience. And set up an evaluation measure success. Evaluation measures. So when we talk about evaluation measures, that could be SEO, it could be how many clicks, it could be how many likes and shares or comments on your activity online. So it's really good to measure that. This is something that I like to look back on for when people want to know, well, when do I use my newsletters? When do I use my automated emails? So I'll be presenting this to you. We'll send it like we did with Orla's presentation last week. So I'll send you the presentation and the video. And if you look at the need and the want, that's where the word of mouth comes in. So it's a wee bit like the other presentation I showed, but you could have a brochure there so that when they come into the shop, you have a brochure. It's really important to have all these communication devices ready in hand for when they need it. And the great thing about digital marketing is that you can have it in hand and send it online. And it's always, there's nothing more frustrating than a customer having to say one of their top 5 questions not being answered straight away. People get frustrated and you've lost them. So try and make sure that you answer all of those questions. And I'm sure you all know them already, like what are the top 5 questions and what are the answers you provide? And why not have that in your content, whether it be your website, newsletter, or whatever it may be. So there I have just included some other areas that you can look at for how to engage with customers online in a digital sense. And it's always good, I recommend people to always have a call to action button on your website. So like, for example, if you're holding an event, you can obviously incorporate Eventbrite button into your website. If you have products, you can have a button there where people can actually purchase something online. And then obviously it may be booking a service, an appointment. There's loads of different tools out there that you can use and bring it into your website, and it just makes it a lot easier. Another thing, like on Facebook, you can book appointments as well, say if you haven't got a website. But we do obviously say that the website, Facebook is brilliant. It's like your TV. It's where you run your ads. I suppose the advert disappears very quickly. But the purpose of the website is that's actually like your shop door. That's where they go for all the information they need. So it's really good to have both, and it's important that they're connected at all times for all social media posts. So this is just, for example, a marketing toolkit for a senior care home. So obviously it's difficult to focus on everything at the same time. So this is me kind of drilling it down to what they could focus on for their marketing strategy. So they would look at senior issues and content. So for example, provide information. So for example, someone might have dementia and they might have a blog based on dementia, all the supports that people can go to, where they are, and all the contact information that's needed. And that's really good because then you become a go-to information spot and people remember it and they start talking about what you do additional and adding value to your business in another perspective. Caregiver tips. So for example, someone who is admitting their loved one into the care home, what are the caregiver tips? You know, what to pack, you know, what to be aware of, what you need to be informed of before you arrive. And then obviously the social media buttons that they've used in this is Facebook, Google, YouTube, and Twitter. I would say the focus obviously there is that it's not on Instagram, probably because it's too social when it comes to that type of a business. And then emails and posts and website updates and search engine optimization. So it's really good to try and just grab at least one area of that customer journey and use those for your cogs in your wheel to just get you started. You can always build on it. You can always measure and see what's tracking well or what's not tracking well and go from there, because every business is different. And it's really important for businesses as well to be able to pitch themselves. We spoke about it earlier, the mission and the vision. And when we talk about pitching yourself, it's really good to be able to describe yourself in 30 words, 60 words, 120 and 300 words. And as I said, use that information across the board. I've given you an example here of what new moms have done and how they have pitched themselves. So it's an innovative social enterprise to transform communities through practical hands-on employment training. Bright Endeavours is a critical component of our job training programme and exists to provide transitional job training and professional skill development for young moms who are working to build strong families. So it's a really good excellence. And then the next level then will be additional information. And this typically, what I would say is, the first bit is the main thing, you know, the first 2 questions of the 5 questions answered. And then the second part then will drill down into the next 3 to make your 5 questions answered. When we look at events, so this is like, you can always host your event on your website and have a click-through registration for that. There's no reason why you can't also have a funding or even sell tickets online. And I mean tickets like the raffles for the events themselves. And I'm sure that there's some of you out there that have a big enough venue that you can all come together and contribute, because it's really hard to do an event on your own, but as a team, it's an easier task. I've worked at events for a long time, and it's really difficult, especially in the last couple of days, because it means everybody's hands-on, because only so much can be done before the event, so a group effort is really needed. And I can understand that you haven't got the resources, so that's just another way it can be done. So, Mile High Workshop, I just want to look at how you can reach potential customers, new customers, or just communicate what you do. People want to know what's going on behind the scenes. It doesn't have to be the perfect photograph, it just has to be real. And it has to communicate a message. Like, for example, Mile High Workshop have said, each month we provide every employee with an RTD pass to help them to work running important errands like the doctor and getting them connected with family. Would you consider chipping in €50 a month or $50 a month to sponsor a monthly transportation pass for one of our employees? Click here to donate. So it's very friendly, it's very loose, and it's achievable. It's not like they're asking for, you know, $200 or $300, and you can do it at different parts. So you can even say, even like a contribution of every €10 that you contribute will go towards whatever a pass for an employee for the month. And then this is another one, so just a different kind of an angle to it. So a monthly update from the shop, so you can click into the newsletter there, so the link is in the post if you want to get more information. It's always good to have a call to action. There's nothing more frustrating than someone putting up a post and then, well, what do you want me to do with that? So the call to action is visit our website, share our post, pop in to see us, check out what our new products online, whatever it may be, a call to action is always advised. And then talk about your problems. You know, say, look, we're tackling internally, we've whatever it may be, maybe you need furniture, maybe you need a printer. There's no harm in asking, and people can be very generous, and we've seen that throughout social media. And then, and obviously the newsletter is a good way to get subscriptions. So Sonia mentioned GDPR, so this is a good way to get the access to potential customers as well, first as subscribers and then follow-up calls. And then obviously announcements or whatever they have going on, whether it's an event or maybe there's an open day or whatever's happening. So, and you can see here the pictures are all giving people a snapshot of the produce, of what's happening, how they work. They're not polished. That's why kitchens are really important, or really popular when people want to see the chef in action. They want to see what the chef is up to. So let people in behind the scenes and get to know you better. The most important thing for people is that you need a website, Google Business, Facebook and Instagram, the top 3 without a doubt. And make sure there are no friction points in your website. And what I mean by that is in the first 5 minutes, when people land, consider the customer journey I explained earlier. Do they know where they are? Do they know, for example, if you're a printer or if you're a community centre, or where you're located? All the main questions. How did they find you? Did they know exactly what you did and the people behind the business? So do they know that you have a shop, or do they know you have meeting rooms? Can they find everything they need? Are they able to engage and contact you? Some websites, and they just have an email, they don't have a number and an email. You need to have a multitude of different ways people can contact you, or else you lose out on the call. Some people just don't like phones. And then did they find how you could solve their problems, provide solutions? What's really good for people is if you look at your queries and your complaints, or if people have sent messages, what are they saying, what's their problems? And you can fix all of those through your website. Do they know your mission, your benefits, your unique selling points, your point of difference? Do they know how to connect, donate, support, and engage as a supporter? I know some of you work with people with disabilities. I work with people with disabilities in Australia, and a lot of what we did for our marketing is we put the people first, but they were alongside what they were doing, the task or what they produced. So anytime we marketed, what we did was always someone with a disability there. So it was visually captured on what we did. And is it easy for them to share what you do? And then it's really good to have maps or packages or whatever you catalog, all of that kind of material, so they can download it and use it again, or they can share it. So I can understand that some of you probably don't have websites. Wix is a good solution probably to keep you going until you get your own proper website, even just have something up there for your customers. And for reassurance marketing, I'm just going to try and hurry up now. People have a lot of questions. So in your marketing content related to COVID, if you can answer any questions people have. Again, I said, you know, the inquiries that you're getting, answer those through your website. Send out email updates with actionable items and tell them about refunding or deliveries or how long it's taking, so that they're prepared and they know what to expect. Post regularly in social media. A website pop-up is always good, so we will be open for business in whatever date it may be, and your new opening hours. It saves them the call, take the effort out of the journey. You could have an online contest, and an online contest doesn't necessarily have to be money or an exchange of goods. It can be just a question and seeing what people, how they respond or what they say to you. It can be just a trivia about the, say, community centre. Anybody know how old it is, you know, and just to get some engagement. And anybody remember I don't know, have a memory from their childhood, for example, and that gets under the skin of your customers, and it makes it very valuable social media post. When we talk about communicating your message, it is a message of good always. It's always a message of good and what you're doing really well, and how you're promoting that message. And let people know they can contact you if you have any questions. And if you can communicate in different ways to your customers as well, maybe provide a video of how you've set up your business for COVID. You know, let them look around so they feel safe and secure. Maybe you want to do online classes instead of workshops in the centre itself. So there's different ways that you can continue your business in different ways. This is an example of a reassurance marketing message. We keep talking about tone and pitch to your audience. So this is from the Marion Hotel. We gently opened our doors yesterday, and it was good to see old and new friends come through. Fires were set, guests checked in, afternoon tea was served, and while the sun didn't shine, music and laughter could once again be heard in the garden room. It's so good to be back. That's the epitome of emotional connection. It's connected to all of your senses. What you can hear, what you can see, what you can touch, what it's actually painting the picture of the experience in a lovely, friendly, welcoming way. So that's a good way for you to approach your social media. And then if you can optimize your website for mobile, a lot of people are obviously on their phones rather than on their computers. Create valuable content, SEO research. So things are going to change with COVID. So do a bit of research on what people are talking about in your industry, and maybe share that information online. Also, make sure to include the COVID keywords in your websites or in your marketing, so that when it picks up, you can say, for example, printing available in Roscommon from X date. And so when someone goes to search, where is the printing in Roscommon, you're going to pop up on the SEO. And especially for COVID, that's really important. And it's a great way for you to get ahead of your competitors and re-engage. You can join conversations and talk to people in community forums. Anybody asking about who's open or what's happening, well, just let them know what you're up to, and give them a link, obviously, to your Facebook or your website. And then obviously thank customers for their support. That's really important. And just send out a friendly email. Thank you for all your custom and your support. We look forward to seeing you whenever you're open again, and keep them informed. And what we want to do is just a quick exercise in your own time, is to describe what you do in 30 words, 60 words, and 120 words, as compared to the example that I provided earlier. So the last thing we want to discuss is, so the session on the 4th of August, there's a few people have messaged there in the chat that they're not going to be available on the Tuesday. So I think it's about 3 people. What we might do is send an email to check availability, if that's okay, and we can go from there, because it's important that everybody gets the benefit from the mentoring. So yeah, so has anybody any questions? I'm sorry for going over a little bit. Any questions?
No question. Thank you.
No
That was very clear. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
No problem, guys. And you know, with the mentoring sessions as well, you know, we just want to make sure we help you in any way we can. So make sure to take advantage of it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Make sure to click on, and we can, you know, we'll work around it in some way. And there's plenty of options there, because there's me, Grace, Sonia, and Gillian. There's 4 of us that will be offering those mentoring sessions. So anybody, any other questions or anything you'd like to say before I close the session?
No, thanks, Laura and
Thank you
Sonia.
very much.
Thanks,
Thanks.
guys.
Thank you.
Guys.
See you soon.
Thank you, everybody, for
Have a lovely
participating.
afternoon. Okay.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys. Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.